All right, welcome to a new episode of The Art of Biz and Chill, where I, Malainayo Best, am an innovative boss chronicling her entrepreneurship and travels. Switched up the tagline there. Had to save some characters. I think it's on point. It's on point. Tune into some keywords. But this episode, I am getting into it is the summary of my 30-day challenge for June. It was a content challenge. I failed, but we have made advances in, in other ways. A major thing that I want to address is the audio. Isn't it coming through crisper? Like, it's not like popcorning and shit. I don't have a better mic. I am recording on a completely different app. Before, I was recording directly into Substack. And, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I have no idea what's going on with that at all. Like, I did it on the desktop. And then I ran a test. Like, I don't know if it's also because it's through the browser, but like there is no Substack app on the desktop. I currently, at the moment, due to certain circumstances, I cannot access like the Substack app on my phone because I removed it and I can't re-add it at the moment. So I tried recording through Substack on Chrome on my phone, ran like a couple tests, and I had the popcorn and shit happen. On my desktop, I'm using Mozilla Firefox for Substack, and the popcorn and shit still happened. So that's definitely like a Substack issue. I have no idea like what's happening. That's beyond me, but I'm just using this basic app called Voice Recorder that I've had for a couple years. Shit, I guess since 2019. So it's been a hot minute. But I don't ever have any popcorn issues, even when I'm like recording my YouTube videos on the phone. No popcorn, crisping sound. It's just like when I was recording, it's like certain things that were contributing to me not fulfilling the June 30-day challenge. So the 30-day challenge, to double back on the topic, was that I was going to be putting out 3 pieces of content every day, right? And one of those forms of content was going to be like an audio video, an audio visual, whatever. Basically, I record the audio and then like I put together just like a still I just put a still and then put the audio on top of it. So that was so that I could start growing on YouTube, using the YouTube shorts, and then putting the audio visual onto LinkedIn as well. And then like the benefit with YouTube it being that because you can connect the short to a longer video, it's directing that traffic. But I'd be thinking I'm recording something that's hot, and I go back and listen, and I got like the popcorn and shit happening because I was recording everything on Substack. And then clearly nobody wants to hear that, especially when it's happening within 5-10 seconds of the video starting or the audio starting. So that fucked up views, certainly. And so I had to make space from that. And then ultimately, like, it wasn't a matter of producing the content. It's, all this is a lesson in understanding, like, the fundamentals and having, like, the fundamentals. It's, like, I enjoy making content, but at the end of the day, like, it's serving a business purpose. And that's to attract FinTech executives, in my instance, and, converting them into clients. Fundamentally, I didn't have my website ready. And part of that was also like, as far as me still getting benefits out of the past 30 days, is that I got an understanding of just what exactly I wanted to offer. Not just, I'm pressed for money. I don't have a day job. That's intentional. My plan has always been I wanted to be self-employed with like a freelance business, a service business, and then building my art on the side, versus the typical thing of you have the 9 to 5 and you're building whatever you want on the side. My main distinction is because of the time and energy commitment to a day job. And then the time and energy commitment, like even when it comes to a part-time job, there's a gap in the amount of money that you can make. So it's like, I want full-time income on part-time hours. And then I had my own internal malarkey and just so much other bullshit just being the maelstrom within me, interrupting the entire process. So, that circles to an overarching point. I have my quote unquote privileges that were, they're still fucking annoying. So it's kind of low key, maybe I would have just been better off getting a day job given the offset of staying with my neurotic parents and then also dealing with the other bullshit going on with me and then the dynamics of them. It's kind of like, for all that, I should have just had a day job at this point. But alas, the time has passed and I'm moving with what I got. I got motion right now. And ultimately, it gave me the wherewithal to fully observe on LinkedIn. I guess maybe a little bit on Reddit, but being able to finally move my LinkedIn feed into a FinTech direction so that I have now I'm getting inundated with FinTech posts. This is perfect. That just makes it easier for me to, start building, to continue building at this point, visibility and starting to make connections. So all that to say, I was trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to offer because I don't want to just produce content. And I guess before I get into that, the point that I was really trying to make is I understand the framework of having the day job and then building the, your entrepreneurial endeavor on the side. Is you need stability and you need structure. And when you don't have those things, when you don't have the foundations of your life set, it starts setting other things off within you, just based off of, us humans being animals at a baseline. And then we have our cultural shapings or whatever. And then you have your own personal issues or setbacks, your advantages, all these other things. It's like everything just starts clashing within as you are creating something that is, kind of outside of the structure, outside of the norm of what you and many other people are used to. It's humans. We're very social, communal creatures. Building your own thing gets you in a place where you're facing your own sovereignty and your own comfort with being able to make your own decisions and to stand on your own and, give or take the nature, nurture, whatever the conditioning that you have up until that point, a lot of shit just starts clashing within you that, give or take, you can, like, I find people will complain about, oh, well, no one talks about this with entrepreneurship or whatever, or I didn't read about this. There wasn't a YouTube video about it. And that's low key why I do this podcast, is to talk about the inner worlds, the inner workings of what's going on in me that, I wasn't prepared for. I don't think that anybody could have really prepared me for it. And even if you read about it, it's like we all have our own conditioning and circumstances that cause these things to arise within us. And we just, for me, it's trying to make sense of it, and then me trying to communicate with other people about making sense of what is going on in me. And then it's like I'm being treated like I'm experiencing something that's just so foreign, when I found it's things that I guess people just don't want to talk about, or they won't address. And give or take your lifestyle, you can go without discussing these things and vilify other people, like people like me who try to talk about it and dismiss them, and you can avoid it. You can deny it. So that's, to me, it's part of why the conversation may or may not be being held, or really why there may be difficulties in language around it, because there's like, again, I've read a lot of entrepreneurship books. I've gotten into the content sphere and everything. And no one gets into like the details of just the tension and just all these other things that just flood into your mind and body when you are literally just trying to create something that, give or take, is new in the world. Like what I'm offering in fintech is and isn't new, because I'm building based off of other people's models. So all that to say, I gained a lot of experience, or just a lot of, I guess more so, information to give me insight on the particular problem that I'm solving, the outcome that I'm helping to bring. And what's been most important to me is establishing the premium with which to do it and my work style. So I had come up with 6 services, and then I was trying to get them all set up at once, and then figuring out how to promote it. And then I had the case studies on my website. Like I'm not coming into this without experience. The other conflict for me was figuring out how to take previous experiences and use them as viable proof for me, showing that I know what I'm doing and that I can get the results that I want for, or get the client the results that they're looking for. And yeah, it was bringing, and then trying to find the through lines between the cannabis industry and the fintech industry, so that I can be transparent in the fact that, yeah, I'm green. I'm very green to fintech. I'm very green to finance. I'm green to technology as far as the business side of things. But I have 7 years of experience working in cannabis and the hemp industries, respectively. And I'm not coming in here doing nothing for a couple $100. That's just not, because I already know, even if I take on the work, I'm going to be resentful, because I'm going through this process of doing cheaper work and getting irritated, just low-key feeling irritated, and then trying not to take it out on the client because I agreed to do this. But at the same time, it's like, because I've had conversations where I've had clients and other business professionals say that this is worth, wait, I have more like there's more value to what I'm offering than what I've accepted. And then that being reflected in my own personal life. So all that to say, I've settled on 2 services that I am actively promoting, moving into the month of July. Spent like a week particularly just focusing on one offer. And I guess I have a total of 4 offers that I'm providing instead of the 6. But the main thing for me is, though I'm working remotely, I still want to work directly with people. I don't just want to produce content. I just don't want to, like before when I first started out, it's like, oh, I'll be in a little silo. I hit you up. You want me to do your blog post? You want me to do your illustration, make your content, wherever the fuck. I'll do that. And we have a little engagement. You can give me feedback in Asana on this task management program I use. And it's low contact in that regard. But, because that was me coming from the framework of having social anxiety, and as I grew out of that, really wanting to devote most of my time and attention to my own creative projects, and then just vibing and not really feeling like being a businessy lady. But as I've learned, I do like being a businessy lady, and in particular, I like being in charge and talking with other people who are in charge. Like, it loosely gets into, like, I've gotten in, when I get back into the whole dominatrix thing and whatnot, like, I don't have control issues. It's, I just know how to make decisions, give or take my whole rigmarole or whatever. It's my conflict that I've had to overcome from, like, the nature nurture of my upbringing is I come from a very controlling household where me making my own decisions was treated like a rebellion. And, I was dealing with a lot of shame around that, when it's literally like, I'm just taking charge of a situation if I see that there's a way forward. If I'm seeing that so and so has whatever potential, I notice gaps in things. I notice the potential in things and individuals. And if there isn't a plan, bet I'll make a plan. If we don't know which way to go, okay, bet I'll make the decision that we go in this direction. It's, there's some degree of me having had to cultivate discipline as far as not veering towards my nature of my upbringing of being controlling, but ultimately I don't need I don't need to control things to feel a sense of comfort, which is like the issue with my parents and why we clash. It's like they need it for their stability, when it's my thing is like, I'm thinking of the whole of what is bringing out the best in everybody involved and that we collectively want to move towards. And that then, I think it finally kind of clicked for me last week, where my ultimate goal in life is to be an animation director. And I got into marketing because of when I was involved with other artists in my 20s. The importance of marketing kept coming up. Marketing your artwork, building the visibility that way. And there's like this inherent, I feel like, manufactured clash between art and business that got me to be like, all right, let me put art on the shelf. And instead of me carrying this narrative about business being a drawback and business being bad and capitalism and money and all this like bullshit that I had taken on with this identity as an artist, let me put this on the shelf. And to learn business and marketing, let me start helping companies with their marketing. And then once I got more directly involved with how I was developing the content with the cannabis businesses I was working at, I started clicking. I'm working directly with executives. I'm working directly with the people who are cutting the check. And I'm hanging out with them, and they're literally just people. And they're trusting me to make certain decisions for them about shit that they don't want to think about because they have more important things that they want to do. That they're more invested in. And then that growing into me leading and guiding and directing the entire teams, because again, I'm thinking animation director. As an animation director, you are, bringing together multiple people of different skill sets, different backgrounds to create the film. So that's like my thought process for how I was addressing, putting together these marketing strategy and guiding the teams, where I had no actual experience with that in real life. Like, I wasn't physically there. I was doing everything remotely from my house, especially during the pandemic and then following that. So then I reconnected with this workshop format through this company called AG and Smart, where they teach about facilitation and offering workshop businesses. They offer workshops for 5, 10, 6,000, 6-figure workshops. And it's like, the workshops may be for 2-3 days, and some of which they host them remotely. They do sprints as well, where they work on something for 3 weeks or so with a company. And so just culminating all those experiences and information, I revisited AJ and Smart and went through their free programs. I followed them on YouTube and started watching like a couple videos and went through their templates and everything. And then the main thing then became, as I've been making these connections with FinTech on LinkedIn and watching the conversations and seeing the repeated problems and whatnot that was being talked about, I was resisting it to some degree, but I'm like, you know what? I understand marketing. I understand marketing teams and marketing strategy. So I joined these FinTech marketing groups, once I have the funds, investing in the memberships. And because again, thinking like an animation director, I'm handling teams. The work that I was doing with the cannabis businesses and even with Stash Bag Data, the startup that I helped co-found, was basically getting everybody on the same page with ideas. If there were spats, misunderstandings, getting everything out on the table, and again, getting everybody focused on the North Star, the big picture, the program, which was the business goal. That's ultimately what developing the strategy is for, is building the roadmap and getting everybody locked in, assigning responsibilities, establishing deadlines and everything to achieve and or exceed the goal of what it's going to do to advance the company and to achieve whatever the aim is. And that is how I'm moving now. The 2 services I have are Biz and Chill Day and Biz and Chill Teams. And I've been wanting to have like a hour, 2-hour kind of advisory interaction. I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I feel like there's way more value because like I've done, again, couple $100 consulting where I help I help like 2 companies figure out shit, but you haven't invested enough money for me to also, because of like just the disjointedness with how they were working, and just their mindsets. There's but so much I can tell you to do and a plan that I can give you, that if you're not making the changes, once I'm gone, this is not going to be sustained. So I made the Biz and Chill day where there is an intensive where we're having a discussion, but then, we're working together to put together a plan and a strategic roadmap that gives them the framework to implement without me. Then the workshops, and then that's for 1 to 3 people. The workshops, those are for 2 days, and that's for up to 7 people, where there is a greater time investment, but also more involvement, where again, I'm providing space for people to be upfront about what the dynamics are that aren't working, what the conflicts are, and the evolving into the collaborative ROI is that once we got all the bullshit out the way, and we can get everybody involved in using their talents and their ideas to achieve the specific goal, that everybody's on the same page and has a clear idea of what their responsibilities are, what the deadlines are, and everyone has stake in it because they were participants. And there's an enthusiasm and whatever, like, more uplifting, positive emotion associated with how we're moving things forward. And then, like, the additional 2 services that I'm adding is just their advisory services, where I'm involved for 3 months, or I'm involved like longer term, where I'm kind of scooting things along with the implementation process and helping with that. So that's the direction of things. That is what I achieved over the past 30 days, was getting locked in and working on the website. Ooh, that takes quite a degree of time. It's taking me a week to get all these pages rewritten, and then also doing the design and linking and all that shit. So, if you don't want to do all that, pay somebody, pay a professional. But if you are limited on resources, you got to make out with it for time. And my recommendation is to give yourself at least 2 weeks to work on a website, so that you're not rushing through things. Because again, there is the design aspect, there is the linking aspect, there is adding images and all the shit. It's not just writing it. And then you're gonna fuck up. So you need the time and space to correct the fuck ups. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty great about the direction of LAINAVERSEworks. I've decided not to move things over to Beehiiv because I don't feel like spending the time. That's long and short. So I'm keeping things on Substack, growing on LinkedIn, developing the YouTube. I will be expanding back into Cosmic Noiris come July 6th, and figuring out where that fits into the podcast. I'm going to figure out some type of format that may be extending beyond the occasional Fridays. Maybe it'll be every Friday, but definitely growing on YouTube and LinkedIn and also Reddit. Those are the main platforms for the Art of Biz and Chill and LAINAVERSEworks. And if you want to keep up with LAINAVERSE, Cosmic Noiris things, the more creative side of things, I'll provide those links. You want to learn details about my business, LAINAVERSEworks.com. All this should be in the show notes. So all the social platforms and everything. If you are interested in working with me, the service links are there. For the Biz and Chill day, you can book that on the calendar, pay for that up front. If you are interested in the workshops, those will require for us to actually talk and figure out the scope of everything. And, everything ultimately comes down to, you get a free 20-minute call. At this point in time, it's free to talk to me for 20 minutes or more, we'll figure out details. Or if you're just interested in connecting with me, getting to know me, and we can be in one another's business networks, that's an option as well. And yeah, if you are just also interested in whatever questions about entrepreneurship, there's that. And in due time, I'm thinking in August is when I'm going to get into the travel aspect. I was trying to figure that out. If I was just going to move that over to LAINAVERSE and make that more of a creative thing, or I was going to keep it business. I'm going to keep it business. I still want to get the experience of making UGC content for not just hotels, but I'm seeing if I can work something out with airlines. So I've just expanded it to travel UGC. I'm still bringing, if you've caught like previous episodes or my other content in the past, I'm still bringing the workation element, and that my content is to appeal to business professionals, traveling creatives, and centering the work that I'm doing in the content, and seeing how like each of these partnerships, like if it's an airline, hotel, I figure out whatever forms of travel, but how a yacht, a cruise, figuring out how these environments further enhance like my work style. Like I'm on vacation, but I'm still working, because I don't view, at this point, work is not labor for me. That's the whole thing on me being self-employed and pursuing my art, is like, this shit is work, but work doesn't necessarily have to be laborious and it sucks and you're a slave. And like, everybody works. All living creatures work. Ants work. Birds work. They go out, they gotta get shit. They gotta survive. They gotta build home. They gotta eat. Like, that's the baseline of work. So that is what I will be covering, that content. I'm spending July finagling like whatever connections. So I may make some content. I may make like 1 or 2 pieces of content just as like, portfolio pieces to appeal to these companies when I pitch to them. But I'll have like a more clear outlook on where that's fitting in with this in August. Because I feel like that's when I'll actually have the partnerships and everything. So thank you for your time. Be sure, if you're on YouTube, if you're listening, whatever, be sure to engage, comment wisely, consider liking, share with love, subscribe if you vibe. If you are a sensible, world-class individual, I'd love to connect with you. So be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn, comment on the Substack or YouTube, and I don't know, let's build something. Let's build something beautiful. I'll catch you on the next one. Deuces for glory and pleasure. Malainayo out.